The first thing that I tell all my students also is if you need to acquire new skills, you first need to drop the tags. When I say drop the tags, what I mean by this is a lot of people say that I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm non-technical, I'm this, I'm that, I'm dash. What was that dash, right? So that tag that you give to yourself is an excuse that you're giving to yourself that you're not open to learn. Life lessons learned is to have more than you got, you have to become more than you are. Second one is formal education will make you a living, self-education will make you a fortune. And I have to attribute these two quotes from Jim Rohn, one of my favorite mentors. And the third life lesson that I learned is, I'll attribute back to Grandpa, is never let schooling interfere with your education.
Welcome back, listeners. Today's guest is the reflection of the new India. Young, ambitious, driven, and on the move. And my guest today checks all of these boxes. A freshly minted author, basking on the success of his first book, and being Amazon's top of the chart. It's an absolute joy to welcome the super energetic, super charming, the new age teacher cum digital coach, Siddharth Rajsekar. Siddharth, welcome to Inspire Someone today.
Thank you, Srikanth, for the intro, and truly an honor to be here on this podcast. Thank you so much.
So we have lots to talk, Sid, and I will get started right in. So you have this big, audacious mission to reform our education and employment system by building a new breed of digital leaders. Tell us a bit more about this mission and what triggered this thought process, Siddharth.
The trigger point was my own backstory, like when I was 8-year-old kid. I came back home from school. My grandfather used to work for the Britishers back in the day, and he did not complete schooling. He finished his fifth standard, and he was the eldest son out of a big family of 7 brothers and 5 sisters, literally like a cricket team with substitutes. Big family, joint family. And for him, the pressure was on because he had to make it happen for the family. And his father, my great grandfather, he was a typist or something for the Britishers, and so he was also very good in English, and the English came down from there. But they were typical employees. They were not able to sustain such a large family financially. So my granddad got into this mode of reading. He used to be a voracious reader. He used to read like P.G. Wodehouse. And if my English is good today, it's because of Grandpa. He used to speak to me in like proper British English when I was young, with good accent and all that. And that's what I kept hearing when I was a child. So when I came back home from school and I asked my grandpa the question, I asked him, Tata, why should I go to school? I asked him this question. He came back to me with a Mark Twain quote. He said, never let schooling interfere with your education. As an 8-year-old kid, it was a bouncer. I did not understand what he was saying. But he reiterated saying that whether you're inside school or outside school, keep learning. The more you are learning, the better. Because he worked his way up. He was a very successful entrepreneur. He built a big home where he brought his entire family together. In fact, he set up a business in Bangalore in JC Road, which is like the industrial hub. In 1953, one of the first offices was my grandpa. They were into industrial machinery, spare parts and stuff. What he did was he set up the business and he brought all his brothers together, and it's like all for one attitude. Like he basically gave a life for everyone. And that really inspired me when I saw Grandpa, the way that he became successful. Then of course, later on, life is in cycles. So we lost all the wealth. We lost like our British home that he had built on Langford Road, which was a very prime location back in the day. And I grew up in that house till my 7th standard. Then we had to literally restart. So the answer to the question is, what is inspiring me to redefine the education system is because later on I realized Grandpa's message when I failed my 12th. And even till today, I don't have any degree next to my name. I went into the music industry, worked my way up the corporate ladder in spite of not having a degree. Then I got into entrepreneurship in 2011. So it's been more than a decade as an entrepreneur. My first venture was in running an agency. We had more than 35 employees working at that point of time. And I recently sold that company. And I got into digital coaching in 2018. So last 3 years, I consciously made a decision to build a business without any office. and without any large infrastructure and employees and stuff like that. I wanted to build it more like lean and mean organizations. So this journey of redefining myself every few years and learning from mentors who are implementers really triggered that, that mission that, what, you do not have to follow the template of going to school, getting a good job, safe and secure, being in the corporate world. I mean, that's the old template. The new template is you got to keep redefining yourself. And that's what happened to me, from a music guy to making ringtones for mobile phones to this. So that journey has really inspired me. And the key here is the mission now is, if I can help people become mentors or implementers, teachers who are walking the talk, and if you can create an army of those teachers, that will transform the education system.
There are very wonderful, powerful statements out there. Mentors who can be implementers and challenge the status quo. More importantly, don't follow the old template, but look at the new template and adapt to the new template.
Yes, absolutely.
And this thought process led you to write a book, successful on Amazon, top of the charts. You Can Coach. What does it mean to be a bestseller, and what can you share as excerpts from this book?
Honestly, never planned to be a bestseller. The way that I started to write the book also was just an idea that popped into my mind one day, because I've been running this community for more than 2 years. It's been 3 years now. But at the 2.5 year mark, I thought, okay, let me write a book that can be a textbook for my students. Yes, I have courses, but if they can have a textbook where they can go through all my principles, that's fine. So I started off writing the book, putting together a framework on what I would normally make people go through from a step-by-step perspective. Like, first step, find your niche. Then you design your curriculum. Then you plan your budgets. Then you go to market. That entire strategy of go-to-market strategy is what I cover in the book. Then I thought, okay, why not bring in some interviews of industry experts? Because how I do things may be one of the methods, but there could be many paths to achieving the same goal. So luckily, I had a few interviews of our some of the legends in our space, because I used to speak on. I mean, even now I speak on the stages of Success Gyan. Like in the physical world, I used to speak on the stages. Now we're doing a lot of virtual events. So we had a good connection with some big names like Jack Canfield, Dr. John D. Martini, Blair Singer. So I got to actually do exclusive interviews with them for my community members. And those interviews are transcribed and made those into a few chapters. Then when I had these three big interviews, I thought, why not get an Indian flavor into it? Let's bring our coaches and trainers from India. So Rajiv Talreja, Pooja Puneet, Suren Jayasekar. And then we had then an entire list of names popped in after that. And all our digital masters, Avi Arya, Kulwant Nagi, Digital Deepak, and all our digital masters, because we're all together. Even though to the outside world, it may seem like we are all doing the same thing or competing in the space, but we are all collaborate. We collaborate a lot with each other. We have our own alliance called the Digital Master Alliance. So the book evolved from a textbook into, let's make it like the Bible for the training and coaching industry by incorporating ideas of other people. And I got this idea from the Secret book, Rhonda Byrne. Her success was not her own knowledge. It was bringing on other experts into the book. It was not Rhonda Byrne's original idea also. Rhonda Byrne got this idea from Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill also, Think and Go Rich. He's taken ideas from Henry Ford and all these other names. Long story short, the book, I never thought it would be a bestseller, but it is because of the energy and the knowledge from more than 22 experts, along with 3 years of trying and testing things and formulating that into very clear strategies and principles. That's what I cover in the first part of the book. So the first part, 9 chapters, is all about refined concepts which have been visualized. So I also have more than 21 illustrations in that. So every concept of mine has been made into an infographic, so people can also see it. I thought it would be a 300-page book, but it's a 642-page book. It's like thick. It's a big one. And hitting the charts and the number one bestseller was a very proud moment, because I'm the only author in our family. And I think Grandpa will be very proud, because this book is dedication to him.
Congratulations on that early success.
Thank you.
This also shows what collaboration can do in this particular space.
Absolutely, yes.
And you did mention about being in this space for the last 3 years, kind of taking the digital marketing to the masses. And this digital world definitely needs a different outlook in terms of how the teachers approach the students and how students approach this digital mode of studies. So what are the top qualities, according to you, that a teacher should possess as well as a student should possess to be successful in this digital world?
Very good question. I'll first address the student part, and then we'll go to the teacher part. Because when I was struggling for many, many years in the digital marketing space itself. So I was running an agency. Everything looked good from the outside, but I had a lot of cash flow issues personally. That means after paying teams, after paying taxes, after paying everyone, I really did not have much cash flow for me personally. And at that point of time, I had to really find a way by dropping my ego. And when I say dropping my ego, I had to find a mentor who could show me the path. And I was lucky enough to find a mentor. And I'll come to what are the attributes that I looked for in a mentor when I chose my mentor. It was not just based on how much money they were making or what kind of results they were flashing. So I found my mentor, and there are three qualities that I observed. I mean, what he imparted into me helped me change the game. The first quality is focus. If you want to be a good student, you need to have like absolute focus. It seems like a very obvious thing, but I'll tell you how to practically implement focus and how I practically implement it. Number one is I decided to follow just one mentor for 90 days without jumping around like a butterfly from one thing to the other. Because today in the online world, there are too many shiny objects and people get allured by one thing after the next. And without completing the previous thing, what they bought, there are so many people just buying course after course after course without really sticking to one path. So focus, the way to implement focus is to follow one mentor for at least 90 days to take things to the finish line before you jump to the next. Okay, take it to the finish line. Second implementation of focus is I deleted all apps from my mobile phone. In fact, even now, I don't have any Instagram, no Facebook, nothing on my phone, WhatsApp, no notifications. I hardly take calls. If there's anything I should do online, I do it on my laptop, because I realize that when people consume more than they create, that's the problem. Let's do the inverse. When you're able to create more than you consume, you'll get rich. You'll start to move forward. So a good quality of a student is a student who's able to consume whatever is required, and they're able to create things fast or implement ideas, creating strategies, creating content, creating systems, creating things that can really add value to the marketplace. So when it comes to focus, that's the first quality. Under that, these are the other elements. The second quality that my mentor told is, which I incorporated, is systems work, people fail. He said that. So a quality of a good student is a student who follows the recipe given to the T. If you're given a 6-step recipe to make a pizza, and if you change the order, you're not going to get a pizza. So if a mentor is giving you something, you follow that same sequence. I mean, don't try to reinvent the wheel, as they say, right? If it's working, just do it. Follow the process. Now you can add your own flavor to it, but the main elements need to be there. So that was second quality of a good student, which even I incorporate this into my community, and those who are getting results, they like to follow it to the T. They don't use their brains too much. They implement it and they just move and they improvise after that. And the third quality of a good student, it was a big one for me, which my mentor told me. He says, don't be cheap on your journey towards greatness. And I used to be cheap. I used to download cracked softwares. I used to torrent courses, thinking like I'm overly smart and stuff. But, that was a time I was broke. I was really not really making things move. So the day I heard this from my mentor, I decided to follow it 100%. In fact, I had a whole hard disk of, cracked stuff and all the goodies that I did not pay for. I deleted everything. And from that moment on, I started to pay for things, pay for tools, pay for, I would not use the word pay. I like to invest in myself, like invest in learning, invest in tools, invest. And even when it comes to business, paying my taxes on time, being 100% compliant, no shortcuts. Yes, as a business, wherever possible, we can incorporate business expenses to reduce the tax payment, but being 100% compliant, because what goes around comes around. If you're playing the shortcut game, it will hit you back in some other way. So that point went really strong into me, which is, do not be cheap on your journey towards greatness. Freedom does not come free. Success does not come free. There's a price that you got to pay. And the price, it's not just money. It can also be in terms of your effort, your energy, and even your intent. Like, you really need to go with the right intent. So these are the three qualities of a good student. Someone who's focused, someone who's willing to follow a system, and someone who is willing to do whatever it takes, understanding that there's a bigger force that's playing. You want to call it karma or Newton's law or anything else. What goes around comes around. So keeping that in mind, all these elements have that's the qualities of a good student. Now we'll come to the quality of a teacher. Okay, so usually a good teacher is a good student. It's like in most cases, great teachers are great students. And the other thing is, a good teacher is someone who always attributes their success to their mentors. And I've seen this because when I look at my mentor, he only talks about his mentor. Like I've always seen a pattern like this. Like those are really making a difference. They never take that thing as their own. They always attribute it to someone else. And they only put themselves on a platform or in a position where they're just a channel and an instrument. They are not the creator of anything. And nothing is new in this world. It's only like getting repackaged with every teacher who's presenting their knowledge. Like even this whole concept of personal growth, personal development, it's all coming down from somewhere. It is coming from a higher plane. Like success principles as we know it today in personal development is all coming down from Andrew Carnegie down to Napoleon Hill, down to say, Earl Nightingale, then Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, and now we're reading his books. It's always repackaged in the next generation, but the principles are always the same. And some of these great teachers, they never say that it's their own. They always attribute it back. So that's another quality of a good teacher. And even for me, like when it comes to choosing a teacher or my mentor, it was based on their value system. Do not choose a mentor based on how much money they're making or what results they have, but you need to look at what they stand for. So for me, my mentor Vic, I have like 3 mentors, like key mentors. So Vic, very family oriented guy, spiritually grounded, making a lot of money, contributing a lot in charity and stuff. So these things really connected with me more than somebody else who were probably making more money than him. So I was able to connect with him as a person because of the value system. My other 2 mentors are Blair Singer. He is a rich dad advisor to Robert Kiyosaki, and he helped me understand what is the difference between a trainer and a leader. A trainer gives information, but a leader creates transformation. And I did not understand that until I went through that journey of transformation with him through his programs. I've been through a lot of his programs. Blair Singer he helped me find my voice as a leader. Before that, I was just just parroting digital marketing stuff. Okay. Vic helped me find, he gave me the system. Blair helped me find my voice. Vic gave me the system. And I have my third mentor, Sam Owens from consulting.com. He helped me understand what it is to have a monk-like discipline while building a business. That relentless focus and saying no to all those 100 things, 100 distractions, and just focusing on one path and one goal, one mission that I got from Sam Owens. So I hope this has encapsulated all those qualities of student and teacher. The main thing is if we can create an army of teachers who can embody these qualities, that is going to change the entire society. It will change the world. That's for sure. Because you just need like a few of these teachers who can make a big difference. Like my mentor has around 300,000 students in his community. I only have like 10, 12,000 students, which is like, it seems quite big from Indian standards. But that's the kind of impact, even if you have like 10, 15 people, and India, we are a huge country right now. So my big, hairy, audacious goal is if we can inspire 1 million people become teachers, imagine what can happen to this world. Teachers with these qualities.
You can definitely look at a dream of a world that is in a much better shape than what it is today.
Absolutely.
And like the adage goes, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step.
Yes.
And you have definitely made that first big leap of 10,000 students. So I'm sure you'll get to that goal of 1 million teachers soon.
Thank you.
Well, that pivots me to my next question, Siddharth, which is for a lot of the individuals who are listening to this, I think they got a great spiel about what it takes to be a good student, what it takes to be a good teacher. So what does it take for them to have good skills? What are the skills that they need to focus to build a career in this space?
Yes, it's a very good question. Because ultimately you can do all the visualization and thinking in the personal development world, but you got to bring it down to skills, because skills will change the game. Now, even for me, I'll tell you, I'll give you the list of skills. But before I give you the list of skills, the first thing that I tell all my students also is if you need to acquire new skills, you first need to drop the tags. When I say drop the tags, what I mean by this is a lot of people say that I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm non-technical, I'm this, I'm that, I'm dash. What was that dash, right? So that tag that you give to yourself is an excuse that you're giving to yourself that you're not open to learning. So the first step to getting any new skills is to make a list of all those tags and just drop it Because if I had said, okay, I'm a sound engineer, and if I had just stuck with that tag, I would not be doing what I'm doing today. So when you drop those tags, it opens up a new world of opportunities. For example, in my community, I have like 62-year-old person who's building their own website. I have somebody who's just a student, 21-year-old student who's helping his mother his mom is a tarot card reader. Mother and son have achieved 2 crores within 18 months. And this guy,
Wow.
he went to Canada to study, and he decides to come back from higher studies, which is a very big thing, right? In India, everybody's aspiring their kids to go and study abroad. Comes back, he's helping his mom now. And he doesn't plan to go back to the formal education system. Now, this is what is like dropping the tags. I'm too young. I'm just a student. I'm too old. So the first step is you need to drop those tags. And then you got to look at skills. So when it comes to skills for a digital coaching in this particular space, I'll break it down into a few areas of skills. The first skill is the communication skill. So your ability to communicate into a camera or into a microphone. This is like the new skill for the new age. It's not about live audience anymore. In fact, I have many people in my community who have been trainers doing live workshops, and they find it hard to look into a camera and engage with an audience or doing it because they need the crowd in front of them. So that is the first skill, communication skills. And also communication, I've learned from my mentor Blair that it is not about what you teach. It is about how you teach it. It's also about facilitation in the right way. See, the education system is all about jamming information into people. It's like retention and on knowledge and stuff. Like more information means much, and they feel. I mean, that's the overall view. How many people can remember more information? They score most in the exams. And they are given the badge of honor that you have scored this much and you got this much of percentile or whatever. But in this game, it is about simplification. Formal education is based on volume of information. Digital coaching is based on simplification. So the more simpler you can make it, and the more you can bring out of the student rather than you jamming into the student, that is also an important skill. So teaching is not just about being a toastmaster and delivering a perfect and flawless speech. No, here it is about evoking a response from the other side. And this whole subject is called suggestology, which you can do research on it. I learned this from my mentor Blair Singer. So even in my webinars, you would see that I would ask people for a response. Now, this is a conversation that we are having, so I'm just going, on and on. But if I were doing a webinar, every 3 to 4 minutes, I would ask people to type something, or I would evoke a response. And even inside my courses, when people are going through my videos, I would ask them to pause the video and go and do something and come back. And I would ask them to share in the comments below on what they learned. So the word education, the root word is educare, which means to bring out of the person, not to put into the person. So when you're able to master the skill of evoking a response from your students, they're going to learn much more than you putting information into their head. So that is another. So that all comes under the first skill of communication, the ability to teach for the digital space in the most effective way. Then the next skill is you may be great at your knowledge. You may be great at engaging with people, but generating sales is a skill. Getting money out of the market is a very important skill. In fact, I did a podcast on this and the title of the podcast was Why I Believe Teachers Have to Be Good Marketers. Most teachers are good teachers, but they're not good at marketing their knowledge, because marketing is a skill. Marketing is a system. So I have a webinar selling formula where I teach, okay, first 5 minutes, how to frame the webinar, next 5 minutes, next 30 minutes, next 40 minutes. People who follow that template, they're able to get a lot of sales, because selling is a process. It's about removing resistances. It's about giving people the right solution to their problem. And the way that I look at selling is a form of service. When I'm asking people for money, I know that if they pay me that 1 rupee, they are going to actually benefit from it. And because when there's a value exchange, people will value me more. They'll value my information more. If I give everything away just for free, sometimes free, even though it may be great, they may not value it. So that's why selling is the ability to get money out of the market is also a skill to learn. That's the second skill. So teaching is a skill. Communication is a skill. Selling is a skill. Let's come to the next skill, which is the technology and the systems. Now, this is where a lot of people get overwhelmed. They think they have to do some kind of coding and stuff to build all their automation and things. But honestly, today we are living in a world where it's like making bhel puri. You don't have to cook anything. The ingredients are already there. Open source. You just need to put it all together.
Modulated.
If you can use Facebook, you can use any tool. You don't have to do any kind of coding work. Like websites that are ready-made templates, you just need to fill in your text, put in your image. If you have to build a funnel, ready-made templates. You have to run your email marketing system, ready-made systems are there. All you have to do is dedicate 1 to 2 days to learning one tool at a time. And within a span of a few weeks and months, you will be able to be up and running to manage your own business. And I tell all my students is you first get hands-on on the systems. Do not think about outsourcing anything until you understand how it works. Once you know how it works, then you can outsource it later. So technology and systems is a skill. Under that, you would have how do you build the systems, how do you manage the systems, and how do you scale your system. So there's build, manage, and scale. There are 3 parts to the digital system itself, which anyway I cover in depth. But the aspect is everything is a skill. Sending emails is a skill. Sending and connecting all these different tools is also a skill. Now there's going to be an underlying important skill across all of these different things which I'm mentioning here, which is copywriting. So copywriting is like it's like the foundational blocks of a coaching business. See, copy and words, we are going to use it everywhere. Even though there's video as a medium to communicate, there's also audio like what we're doing here. Podcasting is also a medium to communicate. But we're going to use copy in ads, copy in social media posts, copy in terms of blogs, sales pages. So copywriting is like an essential element, which is very, very powerful. So if you can develop the skill of direct response copywriting, that's a different school of thought. Direct response, how you can get a response from your audience when they read your words. Once you get the hang of that, the way that you'll be able to communicate through video and other media will also become much better. So copywriting skill, and then of course your whole content skills, content creation, content editing, content publishing. There are 3 parts to content, and under content you have sub buckets. Video content, there is different process. Audio content, there's different process. So you can work with teams, but essentially if you are able to get hands on all these different skills, just to recap: communication skills, then we have your
Sales.
selling skills. In fact, you can give the list.
Yeah, maybe I'll dwell on to that. So what you mentioned about the skills is the communication skills, the sales skills,
Yes.
the technology and systems, copywriting, and the content management.
All of these are essential skills. Absolutely.
Great summary of skills. And like you mentioned earlier on, the tendency is to kind of go for the shiny toy and pick on this stuff, and then you look at something else, you drop this and pick up something else as well.
Yes.
That is bound to happen.
Correct.
But from your own experience, what would you recommend as the pitfalls to avoid for people who want to take on this path? You have outlined the skills that one needs to develop, but at the same time, 1 or 2 pitfalls that people need to watch out for.
So the first pitfall is the shiny object syndrome, which is the big one. They feel there's something, they just keep jumping from one thing to the other. So first step is complete one thing, follow one mentor, and then you can go to the next. That's the first thing. The other pitfall people experience is overwhelm, information overload. There's so much to do, there's so much to consume. So to overcome information overload, you need to look at it in terms of taking it in baby steps, one step at a time. Like how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. They have that example. So the same way, even this business, don't get overwhelmed. Take it at your own pace. You're not racing against anybody over here. You're only racing against yourself. If you can be better than what you were yesterday, that's fine. Keep taking it at your own pace. And usually overwhelm comes when there is lack of clarity in purpose and goal. I'll give you an example. So I was just going with my son towards the airport, and we're going to take a flight. And halfway, I realized that we forgot his Aadhaar card. ID proof is not there. If I drive back, I'm going to miss the flight. But I have to make it to the flight. And that ID proof is important. So I told the driver, can you find a print shop? I have the digital copy. Let me take a digital printout at least. Within a few minutes, I found the print shop. Another 30 minutes to go towards the airport. I got the printout. I came back, sat in the car, and we started to go towards the airport. And believe it or not, from the time I took the printout till the airport, I saw at least 10 more print shops on the road. Now, this is an example of the reticular activation system. Now, because the goal was to get the printout, I saw so many print shops. If I had the Aadhaar card with me, I would have never even observed those print shops. So why am I giving you this example is a lot of people get overwhelmed because they do not know what their goal is. And they look at everything around them and they get overwhelmed. But now once your reticular activation system is clear, like if you know what your goal is, you will know which options to say yes to and which options to say no to. Like because I saw so many print shops in the last 30 minutes. I mean, that is because that was the purpose at that point of time, like I wanted to fulfill that goal. So if somebody would tell me at that point of time, hey, let's stop and have a juice, I'll say no. If let's go and meet your friend in a coffee day, I'll say no, that's not the goal, because the goal is to go and get into the flight on time. So I hope this point has gotten deep. Overwhelm only comes when there's a lack of clarity. When you have lack of clarity, you'll be able to say those no's, because you got to say more number of no's and very few number of yeses to really be successful. And this, I got inspired by Warren Buffett. This is one of his principles. He said like thousands of no's and just 5 or 6 yeses, and that's what's made him a billionaire. These are I think, 2 pitfalls.
We'll start the power of 3 round now.
Yes, let's do it.
So 3 best advice that you have received till date.
Focus is your most valuable asset. Don't be cheap on your journey towards greatness. Systems work, people fail.
Super. 3 guests you would love to have dinner with, given the choice of anyone in the world.
Eben Pagan, one of my initial mentors. He is a multi-million-dollar information marketer. I'd love to have dinner with our Prime Minister Narendra Modi to discuss about the education system. And and the third person I would love to have dinner with is Richard Branson, to actually understand his mindset on how he's built a conglomerate of so many different companies and still being independent and doing what he does.
Nice. 3 trends to watch out in the digital content marketing.
First big trend is the rise of voice.
Mm-hmm.
And video is growing, but voice is going to be one of the future. 2 is digital community building. We are already seeing this starting right now. The future is not going to be a transactional business. It's going to be all based on membership. So the membership economy is going to be the future. Do not just sell products, build communities. That's the essence. And the third trend, which I'm looking at, is we are seeing a rise of AI, even in technology, in the digital marketing space. For example, we have AI copywriting tools. Like I just need to put in feed in a text and it just pulls up a whole blog article and it's written really well. So we're going to see a lot of AI based stuff that's going to evolve in this, including voice. Recently, I was watching a video where, let's say you are recording, you're doing a transcript of this podcast. You can use that particular tool. Let's say you have said something different or you want to delete some part of it. You can actually type whatever you want in that tool and it will speak like your same voice, like your podcast voice.
Wow.
Even voice is going to move in that direction because it has analyzed your voice and the parameters of your voice.
Wow.
So that's the future. I'm just excited to see what's going to happen there.
Nice. 3 years from now, what will Siddharth be doing?
3 years from now, I will be probably doing a lot more work reforming the education system, because now with the community growing and it's going to build momentum. So probably there'll be more reforms and stuff happening at that point of time. So let's see. I'm curious to know how it grows, but I know that I'll be definitely pro in working with the next generation. Yeah.
Last of the power of 3 questions. 3 life lessons learned so far.
Life lessons learned is to have more than you got, you have to become more than you are. Second one is formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. And I have to attribute these 2 quotes from Jim Rohn, one of my favorite mentors. And the third life lesson that I learned is, I'll attribute back to Grandpa, is never let schooling interfere with your education. Keep learning. Be a lifelong learner.
Sage advice, all 3. Thank you so much. That was the power of 3 round, Siddharth. Moving on, I think you did touch upon in the power of 3 round the importance of community, importance of network.
Yes.
More so in this particular space, right? So what are the ingredients of building a successful network? And this just not digital network, it also applies for our own networks as well.
Yes.
So from your experience, what do you think as the importance of building networks?
I'll answer this in 2 parts. First, I'll talk about what are the ingredients of a community, of a powerful network. And I'll talk about also what are the 6 steps. In fact, I've defined this in my book also. 6 steps to take your idea and make it into a revolution. Because the purpose of a community is not just community. It's to make it into something much bigger. Okay. So the ingredients of a community is, number 1 is there has to be a leader. There has to be a core message. Like I've analyzed communities, religious movements, political movements, and I've also been a part of like network marketing and BNI. Like I've experienced like different communities in different environments. So I'm integrating all of those ideas. So there's usually a leader. There's a common purpose that the community has. Communities usually have a set of habits or rituals that they all follow together. That's also an ingredient of a community that keeps people together. 4 is another ingredient of a community is usually they have routines that progress them towards achieving some goal. And there are different milestones they can achieve. Let me explain this. Say in a religious movement, you have your sadhanas or you have like your meditation practices. Depends from one school of thought to the other. But usually they have like a meditation practice. They keep it together. And then they also have like a path that they need to go through. So there are different levels that people can advance on that spiritual journey. The same way, even in a political movement, you can find, okay, there are different gradations of hierarchy, and the ultimate would be to be the leader of that political movement. But even within the political movement, you have different levels that they can go through.
So it's like milestones.
Milestones, exactly, milestones.
Okay.
So there's regimens, routines, and milestones. So anyway, so these are the ingredients of a movement. So leader, a mission, milestones, and routines that keep them together. How are revolutions created? That is something I've also been studying, and I've broken it down into 6 steps. I've analyzed people like Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, Mahatma Gandhi, like what really created that spark, that really made things go big. So the first step is it has to come from a core. There has to be a powerful core from an individual. Like let's take in this case example of Gandhiji. Okay, so he had a very powerful core, and that core was triggered due to a situation that happened in his life. Maybe that South Africa train incident, whatever. Like it just triggered him. In fact, I went to Johannesburg and I went to that jail where he was in. I went there. It was a different experience. In fact, it was the same jail even where Nelson Mandela also was in. So first is there's usually a triggering point where the core gets activated. It could be a situation that happens in their life or whatever. The second step of the revolution creation process is they have a core message that is created. Like in the case of Gandhiji, it was ahimsa, like non-violence. Where the rest of the world were bombing each other with British and stuff, he decided to do something different. Like, let's go without fighting. So the whole approach was different. So the core message was created, and the message never changes. Like it continued for a long time. The third step is rallying. They go out and they rally. Like now in the online space, webinars is where we do our rallying now. Your podcast is your form of rallying. YouTube is your form of rallying. But most of the influencers that I've seen, they don't have a very consistent core message. They're always changing. They're jumping from one thing to the other. So if you have a core message, then only then you can create a revolution in whatever topic that you pick. The third step is rallying. Fourth step is once you're rallying, you'll start to attract your initial set of followers or believers, people who believe in what you believe. Like even Simon Sinek talks about it in his TED talk. Like great leaders, they operate inside out. It's not outside in. They talk about what they believe. And even Martin Luther King, though, we had like 250,000 people who showed up for that speech of his I Have a Dream speech. And there was no website, no internet, no RSVP, nothing. Why did they come? They did not come for him. They didn't come to listen to him. They came there because they believed in what he believed. So the followers are created not based on your charismatic thing. Okay, it's not about just charisma. It's based on what you stand for. So once you're rallying, step 4 is you'll attract the followers who resonate with you. Or in other words, your vibe will attract your tribe. That's stage number 4. Stage number 5 is you need to start empowering the leaders. Like you start to see leaders emerge within your own tribe. Like even in my community right now, we have like 10,000 plus people and we have facilitators now. So rather than me doing all the trainings, people who have followed my system, who have achieved the results, who really have a giving mindset, who are having the same DNA as a tribe, the giving mindset. It's not just about selling and taking out of the market. It's about adding value to the market. So those people have been empowered now to drive our own meetups. So even if you look at political parties, they would have leaders who go and do this. Even religious movements, they have like a second line of leaders that they build over a period of time. And the logical step number 6 is the leaders create the revolution. They carry forward the movement. And for this to really work, there has to be a strong code of honor between the leaders. Otherwise, the leaders can either grow the movement or they can implode it. It can crash within it. And we have seen many organizations where it has fallen because of misalignment between the leaders.
That's the binding force.
The binding force is the code of honor. And I learned about the code of honor from my mentor, Brad Singer. In fact, he's written a book also called Team Code of Honor. And that idea from there. So to recap, there has to be a core message. You start rallying, then you attract the right kind of tribe members. You empower the tribe and the leaders to carry forward the movement. So that's how communities should be built. And as long as the intent is pure, that's important, because sometimes there are also movements where all of these 6 ingredients are there, 6 steps are there, but the outcome is negative. That means it's maybe for terrorism and this and that. You can go into a different, it can lead to something else. So as long as the intent is pure, I think that's what I would call as a healthy community and a movement.
Wonderful. That's a very nice template for everybody to follow if they are in the process of creating. I think I loved what you said. Your vibe attracts your tribe. So very true. That's also related to your reticular activation piece of it as well.
True.
Right? So Siddharth, you did mention about the impact your mentors had on you, how it has been a kind of a pay forward for you. One specific individual I would want to kind of bring to your attention and want you to share your experience of working with him, which is Jack Canfield. What can you kind of share as your experiences of working with Jack?
He's a millionaire. Okay. But he's so grounded. Such an amazing human being. The first time I met him was in 2011. His first event that happened in Bangalore. It was a Success Principles conference. We did the lead generation for that. We filled a room, Rice College auditorium with 1,000 plus people. And we invited him to our home. So we had lunch together. We had dinner together. And it was a beautiful feeling and such a positive, like you just know his aura itself. He's an amazing person, to just be around with. Then I interviewed him later on for my community, asking him about what does it take to be a successful coach and things like that. It's there inside even the book also. The entire interview has been transcribed, but he shared that the way that he was able to articulate his thoughts in terms of defining the entire journey of what made him what he is today was so beautiful. So I think Jack Canfield, his superpower is his humility, his groundedness, and his ability to articulate things in a beautiful way, because he's been doing it. And all his books, Chicken Soup for the Soul series, like bestseller for years. He's a publishing phenomenon of the decade. No one has sold 300 million copies in the world. He's done it because of the way to articulate the knowledge and systemize it. So, and I think he follows the success principles. He lives it. So that's what I can talk about him.
Interesting. What's the secret sauce behind all of these high achievers about their humility and humbleness, including yourself?
It's a common pattern that I've seen in everyone. Like even all my mentors have followed that same thing. Like I'll go back to the first point, is nobody thinks that they are anything. They only think that they only put themselves as a instrument on this journey. Like even since I come from a spiritual background, even my guru, my spiritual master, this foundation is there in our spiritual system itself. Like the guru always attributes to his guru, and it goes back to like multiple generations. So we're just like there's a powerhouse somewhere, and we have all these electric poles, and ultimately we put on the switch and there's a light coming here, right? And a true mentor is just somebody who's just a pole, just carrying forward that information through the wire.
Instruments of carrying that legacy forward.
Absolutely. And as long as we do it without adultering and just messing it up, we need to enhance it and take it forward. And that's what will make a difference. That's the secret sauce, if you actually ask me, of some of the great teachers of the world.
So Siddharth, it's been wonderful sharing a lot of the stuff that you have been sharing with me and my listeners. This show is called as Inspire Someone Today, where we are creating ripples of inspiration. If there is an Inspire Someone Today message for all the listeners, what is Siddharth's message?
My message is you don't have to follow the template. You can create your own template of life. Everybody has their own journey. And as long as you're true to yourself and you want to use your talents to help others, otherwise there is no use of your talent if it is just for your own self. Like the only value of your uniqueness and your talent in this world is its value to other people. So if you're able to keep that in your mind and create your own template, that's the best thing that you can do.
Super. Create your own template and add value to people around. Well, that's a wrap for this episode. That was Siddharth Rajsekar at his best. What powerful statements he had for us. Mentors as implementers. Trainers gives information, leader creates transformation. People fail, systems work. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Inspire Someone Today. If you think somebody can benefit listening to this, please feel free to share them amongst your network. Thank you for listening, and until next time, keep inspiring. Thank you for listening into today's edition of Inspire Someone Today. It's been a privilege to bring in these conversations. If you like this episode and have any feedback or comments, do mail me at inspiresomeonetodaypodcast@gmail.com. Inspiring someone is like creating ripples around us. If you like what you listen, feel free to share them and let's create ripples of inspiration. Do not forget to follow me on my Instagram handle @InspireSomeoneTodayPodcast for all the latest updates. This is Srikanth, your host, signing off, and until next time, keep inspiring.